We're going to switch to a 15-minute talk, probably the most profound talk, one of the best ones Glenn Sanford's ever given. So go ahead and roll this. This is really good. Please take notes and really pay attention. Thank you.
And in our case, because of the way we set up eXp monetarily, that allows us to do things that ultimately others can't do. So I'm going to jump into just a little bit of a section here, which is really, let me just go back to I made a few notes here. And a lot of these notes I made this last week. You know, you're going to hear this week, especially, you're going to hear a lot about what to do in this business called real estate. And you're going to hear about lead generation techniques and tools. You're going to hear from some of the best on how to actually build your business and to actually scale that business and to actually get results out of that business, whether it's working with buyers, sellers, growing eXp from a perspective of an agent owner. You're going to hear about all of this stuff. And, you know, really at the end of the day, you know, we think about this whole concept of why do we work? Why are we here to do the things that we do? And I want to challenge you on this. The one topic is why did you get into real estate? And when I say that, you know, and feel free to use the text chat here or even on YouTube Live, you guys that are watching live, you know, why did you first get into real estate? And my guess is that a lot of people are going to say to make money. A lot of people are going to say that they needed some income. You know, for me personally, when I got into real estate back in 2002, you know, I've been a consummate entrepreneur most of my life. In 1998, 99, I wrote a business plan. It was for a company called eShippers.com, and we were an outsourced e-commerce logistics company. And I partnered with a company called Unigroup, and I partnered with a company called Card Service International, and we were going to build this basically kind of do like Amazon's doing today. And unfortunately, we ran into the .com collapse in 2000, so I became a bomber. But when I came out of that, I was $40,000 more in debt than when I started down that exercise, and I needed a job. I was doing some different things. I was doing some web design work. I was sort of in between stuff. You know, we had to downsize from the Chrysler Concorde, which was a really nice, you know, Chrysler Concorde sedan. It was an executive car. I was really proud of it. Leather seats, the whole 9 yards. And we had to downsize from that to a Geo Metro, a used Geo Metro, and a used Ford Focus wagon with a cigarette burn in the seat of the car. And I needed to make money. I was in pain. I was in a lot of pain. My credit totally sucked. And so for a lot of people, you know, they got into real estate because there was some sort of pain in their life where they needed to make some money, and they needed to make some money, and they heard about this thing called real estate, and so they got into real estate. And then what ended up happening? In a lot of cases, you know, agents would actually start to sell some real estate. They, you know, having coached a lot of agents, I coach them, whether they're on my team or I just watch them, but even myself personally, a little bit in the early stages, you start to make some money and the pain goes away. And what's the first thing that agents do when they start to make a little bit of money? Well, if you're like most agents, you tend to go on vacation. I would know, you know, I did the same thing. You know, I went on vacation, and I had a financial thermostat, which basically was all geared around avoiding pain. And so when you think about it, what you know, and some of you are probably, I mean, most of us, you know, are probably still operating to a financial thermostat, which basically means that when the pain is significant enough, you do the work you make the phone calls, you prospect your database, you build the stream of income, and then you go out and you sell, and then eventually you make money again, and then you at some point you start to coast again, and this is that general cycle that most agents go through, and it's one of the reasons why, unfortunately, real estate has a fairly high number of real estate agents, especially if the market starts to go sideways or south a bit, that has a high number of bankruptcies in it, because a lot of agents are really in this sort of chase the deal and then coast, chase the deal and coast. And that's really the pain cycle. It's really the avoidance of pain that really motivates people to actually be in the business of real estate. One of my mentors years ago, and I say mentors very loosely, but he had a statement that the job of a good sales manager would make sure his salespeople were in debt. And why that was is because he knew that if his salespeople were in debt, there'd be enough of a pain cycle in place that they would have to actually go out and sell whatever product or service that it was. I know we're good friends. Our good friend Tom Hopkins, who I know we're going to hear from a little bit later this week, one of the very first things that he would do as a sales manager was to actually go and take his salespeople out and make a deposit on automobiles. And the reason why is because most people don't really have enough pain in their life that they actually need to go and sell a lot. And so this gave them both something that of value to strive for, to have this nicer automobile, but it put some skin in the game. It was all about motivating people, but it was also recognizing that if they didn't hit their numbers, that they weren't able to pay for the car, there was a little bit of pain. And so pain is a really significant motivator. Now, I was just at one of the sprints, and of course Dave talked about the sprints earlier, and there's gonna be more sprints coming up, and I'm super excited about these sprints. I was in Arizona last week, and then I went to Dallas last week, and then there's something happened in Dallas, which is going to go into the big reveal on Thursday. But one of the things is that these were, some of these people were agents that had built very large organizations inside of eXp. They've attracted and helped agents succeed at a really high level. And as I was looking at it and having conversation, some of these agents are now in a place where maybe it's easier to coast. They're making way more money than they ever expected to from this thing called eXp Realty, that it sort of puts you in a little bit of a conundrum. What happens to your life when you don't have the pain cycle continuing to be the main driver for productivity in your business? And what happens when you start to go, well, I can play more golf, or I could do this, or I could do that, and to some extent, coasting, and I use this phrase, coasting is the first stage of pain. When you don't have a bigger purpose, a lot of times, money is the purpose. And if we can move from money being the purpose to something bigger than that, something about, you go back to that Zig Ziglar quote, about helping other people. If that becomes your purpose, how do you show up differently? How do you ultimately, make things better for other people? And so, when you think about this financial thermostat, most agents, again, when they need to make more money, they go out and sell. And when you get comfortable, they generally go on vacation. Again, when I say you, I'm really talking about me, especially in my early days. This was me. I was going on vacation. And then there was this, and that's really the definition of the hamster wheel. I mean, the hamster wheel is to a large extent self-imposed. The reason why we don't get off the hamster wheel is because we haven't figured out what's the bigger purpose. Why are we here? And so again, this week, I think this is going to be an incredible week. We've got all these great speakers. We've got all of this great content. If you can think about what is your purpose? What is it that you ultimately want to do? What's the legacy that you want to leave? I'll submit that most of you probably don't want to have the legacy of playing lots of golf. That, if that's, not to say that that's bad. I mean, but most of you would love to have a legacy of having the biggest impact on other people and helping them be successful, and whatever that means. And some people are be totally different. Don Hobbs, who obviously is a great leader, around organization. I had the privilege of attending the mega managing course that he ran back in 2008 when he was running Hobbs Herder, and I still think about one of the phrases that he used is the purpose of a business. Now, let me just ask this, and again, use the text chat here, do it on YouTube Live, just so we can share. But what's the purpose of a business? And go ahead and just start typing away. And by the way, there's no wrong answers there, but there's the answers that that come from that come from the general population, what people are going to say, and the sort of, we'll call it the accepted answers, and then there's the real purpose of a business. And obviously today we had our quarterly earnings, which Jeff's going to talk about some of those numbers later on, and those numbers were great. Nothing wrong with the numbers, but a lot of people will say the purpose of business is to make money, and I so love the phrase that I got from Don Hobbs that I literally have operated from this premise pretty much since 2008. And the purpose of a business is to serve the needs of the owner. And so when you reposition it and you rephrase what that means, you start to realize that the business is there to serve your needs and to serve your purpose, to serve why you want to show up. And so eXp is here to help you actualize whatever that purpose is. I think one of the bigger challenges for each and every one of us is to think about what exactly is that purpose. It's really tough for a lot of people. And again, myself included, when I say you, I'm really talking about me, and I'm talking about different stages of my life. But trying to figure out your purpose is a tough deal. Purpose is almost like going to the smorgasbord. You've got the opportunity to define anything you want as your purpose, and when you have so many things to sort of define as your purpose, or what you want to do or what you want to be, the paradox of choice kicks in. And the paradox of choice basically says that for each additional choice that you have in front of you, your the likelihood of actually making a choice goes down by some percentage. And they've actually been able to measure this, that even in insurance and other things, that every time you give somebody an extra choice, the actual likelihood that they're going to make a choice actually goes down. So it is one of those things that gets tougher, because a lot of times when you pick a purpose, it means that you're actually sort of carving out and getting rid of a number of other things that you could be doing. But once you get laser focused on a purpose, you can actually impact people's lives in a huge way. I'm assuming, of course, that people that in that embedded in whatever your life purpose is to help others, because I think that ultimately is the reason why we're all here on planet Earth, is to actually impact other people's lives. So as we continue to sort of refine this week, when you think about purpose and you think about what is eXp or as a company, it doesn't, we sell real estate, but let's get real. That is the business that we're generally in. We're in the business of listing homes, working with buyers, helping people achieve the dream of home ownership, or to help them with those things. But we're really way more than that. We're really about again changing the destiny of someone who might have struggled in the business. And so when we think about giving back and we think about what our purpose is, how does that change how you show up? And that's one of the other things I think is, when you operate from purpose or on purpose, how does that change how you show up? When you, and I'm going to again sort of think about it from the perspective of, if you're operating at your highest level from a purpose perspective, does it matter how much money do you make? Probably not. However, you'll likely make more money because you will naturally attract people to you that want to do business with you. So when you operate on purpose, the number of agents you attract probably it doesn't matter. However, you're likely to attract more agents because they know where you're coming from. They know that you're there for them. They know that the reason why you're on planet Earth is to help others, and that is really, really attractive. And so you're going to attract more agents. The number of transactions is not an important metric, when you're operating on purpose. However, it's likely that you're going to help more buyers and you're going to help more sellers actually complete transactions than you would if when you're not operating on purpose. The number of people on your team don't matter, but how many people are going to be attracted to join your team because you're operating on purpose. And this is one of the things I've recognized over the years, and I didn't know how to articulate it, but this week it kind of hit me, and this is kind of the sharing this here. I've shared a little bit in Dallas on Thursday on the same theme. But when you operate on purpose, the facts don't matter. How many of us, of course, and of course there's some people here probably were this, and certainly I've been this in other scenarios. But how many of us got a whole bunch of facts as to why eXp wouldn't work? Every one of us. I mean, you go on social media, probably today, you'll probably see some people, coming up with their own facts as to why eXp doesn't work and why it doesn't make sense and this and that. But when you're operating on purpose, as a company and as an organization, there's a reason why we're succeeding, and it's because we have a bigger purpose. The purpose is, and I've talked about this time and time again. I built the real estate brokerage, and I say, we built the real estate brokerage, and now we're 38,000 of us plus. We are building the real estate brokerage that we individually and collectively want to hang our license at. I, of course, don't actively sell real estate, but every time we make a decision, whether it be things like agent healthcare, whether it be how we think about caps and splits, as the way we think about how we're leaning in and building a ubiquitous platform in multiple countries around the world, and we're plugging in training and coaching and eXp cons and all these different activities. This is all purpose-driven activity to support every single person who wants to plug in. And again, a little bit, little teaser about on Thursday, this is kind of this really cool thing that we're going to talk about that, again, I think is going to help elevate that, and you'll be able to see how this ties into the bigger purpose of eXp and where we're going. So, so when you're on purpose, and if you think about, once you have a purpose, and if your purpose, and I'll go back to, if you're a struggling real estate team leader, and let's say you run a team, and if you're a struggling team leader and you're wondering why you can't get agents to stay on your team, I would challenge you to think about, what is your purpose? What is truly the purpose of your business? And you can think about it from the perspective of, the purpose of business to serve the needs of the owner, but is there a bigger purpose that you can articulate that ultimately will get people to want to join your team? And think about what that is, because if you can articulate that, and if that is who you are at a DNA level, people will follow you. People will join your team. People will want to be on your team. They will run through brick walls to ultimately help you achieve that purpose, because the purpose itself is more important than any dollars that you'll put up. But because you've got the purpose, you'll have more dollars coming in as a result. So purpose ultimately drives this thing. So, going back to NPS, we talked a little bit about NPS. One of the reasons why we use it is because we want to be 100% agent centric. And so it's the basic question, on a scale of 0 to 10, how likely would you refer a friend or colleague or family member to join eXp Realty? And it's such a powerful question because, and as many of you know, a 9 and a 10 is a promoter. You know, similar to, you know, giving somebody 5 stars on Uber or what have you. But a 9 and a 10 basically means you're pretty much all in. You're like, you love eXp, you love what it stands for. And then we have a follow-up question is, you know, what most influenced you to give it that score? And so if you're a 9 or a 10, generally you're telling us why you love eXp. Every once in a while somebody will throw in something that could be improved, but normally you're a 9 or a 10. It's pretty much rock solid, love eXp, what have you. You're a 7 or 8, you're telling us maybe a little bit of stuff that you really like, telling us a little bit of stuff that, you know, you could see improved. And then if you're a 6 or lower, you're generally referred to, you know, and as a detractor in terms of just the score. However, that's where all the data lives on how we as an organization can step up to actually improve eXp. So one of the things initially when we started introducing eXp or NPS and even to the staff, I mean, initially the staff was like, my God, I don't want to see the 6s and lowers. And for me, I'm like going, that's where all the gold is. That's how we improve. That's how we actually, you know, do things better at eXp. And we should be, I mean, we shouldn't be wanting them in that we don't want to have a low bar of service that we have for agents and brokers. But we want to get that feedback because that gives us the feedback to continue to move the bar forward, move the ball forward in such a way that nobody can catch us. There's a reason why we're the fastest growing real estate brokerage in the history of residential real estate. You know, it's not, by the way, it's not because of rev share, it's not because of equity. Now, some of you will say, that doesn't make sense, that's why I'm here. That is just the icing on the cake. In my opinion, the reason why everybody's here is, well, if it's the entire package, which includes revenue share, includes equity, but includes listening intently to what you need as agents and brokers in the field out there, you know, going out listing homes, going out working with buyers. What are the products and services that you need to help make your life easier? How do we make, you know, the business better, and how do we stay engaged, and how do we lift each other up, and how do we, you know, continue to kind of make this thing, you know, the most amazing place to hang your license. And so, you know, that's really, you know, our purpose is to always be and always listen. And it's tough. I had to, you know, literally had to fire somebody a number of years ago who said, I don't manage companies based on NPS, I manage companies based on P&Ls. And some of you might, again, sort of kind of go, what does that mean? You know, because, you know, I manage my company from a P&L. Probably do look at your P&L, but you probably don't manage your company from a P&L if you're running a big company, a big group, or a big organization, because ultimately it's about what your customer, your client, your fellow agent, you know, what do they think? What do they feel? How do they feel about your service? And then it ultimately, you know, it turns into a P&L. And so when you think about coming from service, when you think about coming from purpose, think about the P&L that ultimately drives for you and ultimately allows you to do things that others won't be able to do because they aren't coming from this higher sense of purpose. So I just want to leave that with you here today. You know, the difference between purpose and pain, and think about how much further and how you'll show up when you come from purpose. When you come from purpose, and this is, you know, something I've, you know, had to struggle with over the years, and you know, now, you know, financially I'm, you know, better off than I ever expected. It was never a goal to hit the type of, you know, numbers that I personally hit. And as you go through that journey, that continuum, every time you move up the continuum, whether it be income, net worth, whatever that is, it does put you at, it's almost a decision crossroads every time you go through that, because you know, every time you go, man, I could coast now. I could take it easy. I could put my feet up. I don't have to work another day in my life, and I could just be comfortable. And yet, the struggle then becomes how to continue to have a bigger purpose, how to have a bigger impact, how to continue to pour into other people such that they can have a lifestyle, a mindset, and a dream that's bigger than what they ever thought about. And so, I think that's, what eXp represents is a potential to get off the hamster wheel and to actually achieve and live a bigger purpose. And so, super excited about, how you can maybe take some of this, use this week, as you're hearing about the what's and the whys of doing things in your business in ways that can help take your business to the next level. But if you're doing it in the service of a bigger purpose, everything gets easier. In fact, I would say that real estate and this business gets really easy when you understand your purpose. When you understand why you're here, and you can articulate that to other people because it's part of your DNA, this business gets really easy, and you're gonna see things come your way that you never expected to see come your way before. We're investing a lot of stuff. Obviously we can talk about the Showcase IDX and how it's growing out. A lot of things, and I know in Canada in the last week or so they did a demonstration of the Canadian portal, and everybody's really excited, and we're excited about seeing how that's going to roll out in the U.S. and internationally. We've got other services, express offers, we've got the international growth, we've got the big reveal on Thursday, and these are just things that I'm sort of paying attention to right at the moment. And then you're going to hear about so much more stuff this week. And then of course we've got all these great speakers that are going to be talking about the stuff that they're going to be bringing here, because they believe in pouring into people. They believe in helping other people be more successful, to inspire them, to have them step up and get excited about whatever journey that they're on, to jump the curb, play a game in such a way that it doesn't matter who wins the election. And ultimately, I hear a lot of stuff going on right now still, about the election. Well, if you've won the game inside your own mind, it doesn't matter who wins or loses out there. If once you've won the game of purpose, it doesn't matter who won the election or who didn't win the election. It doesn't matter what policies that are put out there by others, because your purpose is bigger than that. Your purpose is non-reliant on the policies that others introduce into the system. Those are just business constraints. Those are just things that we work with. And the nice thing is that everybody gets to work with the same rules and the same system. And if we're creative and we got a big purpose, there's nothing we can't solve. Everything is figure outable, when you've got a big purpose, because you'll spend more time thinking about how to solve big challenges, that the little stuff won't matter. It won't matter if a tax rate changes here, or this happens over there. Your purpose will overcome anything if you've got a big enough purpose.